many languages. It's such a diverse country, and there can be so many storytellers telling stories in different languages, and we don't have a space like that. So started it as Indian language storytelling mandala.
Okay.
So mandala is circle, that is what we say, and the dream was that okay, more and more people will join in and the mandala will go bigger and bigger.
I think stories is a very, very integral part of all our lives. I think at every stage of our life, stories is something that unfolds in various ways.
As per UNESCO, language is divided into different categories. So it is safe and extinct. And in between safe and extinct, there is like languages which are vulnerable. Then there is your endangered languages, all different status it is there, increasing the footprint of Indian languages. So
Good.
how we have, so the idea was how you have carbon footprints, you say that you need to reduce it. So I said, okay, what can we do to increase the footprint of, of our languages?
How many languages are you catering to at this point of time?
Right now, around 220 languages.
Good morning, Lopamudra. Welcome to Entrepreneurs Echo. It's a pleasure to have you here. So
thank you.
Let's straight away jump into the bandwagon of questions, the barrage of questions that I'm going to ask you today. And
okay, ready for it.
The idea behind this entire conversation, Lopa, would be in terms of understanding what Cheers2Bhasha is, what is the kind of impact you're trying to create via Cheers2Bhasha. That's number one. We will dig a little deeper into your entrepreneurship journey. We'd like to know what exactly, has been some of the wow moments for you. What exactly has been some of the moments where you felt get into and things like that. Okay, that's number two. And at the end of the day, what are the key learnings that this entrepreneurship journey has actually given you? So this would be the fundamental premise on which the entire conversation would be based. So let me start off, start firing the questions right away. What exactly inspired you to start Cheers2Bhasha? Was there any specific trigger point that made you say that, hey, listen, this is what I need to do?
So initially when I started, it was not Cheers2Bhasha. So it was more into, since I'm in the space of storytelling and I'm a professional storyteller and have a reading program for children and as well as storytelling and use storytelling at in different premises. So once I was invited to the Scottish Storytelling Festival and I was proudly telling stories over there. And there I noticed people, different storytellers from different places of the world coming in with their traditional costume, telling stories in the local languages. And of course, there were interpreters and everyone, so we could understand what the story was. It's not that we were not being able to understand, but it was the language in which they told the story, and so proudly they were talking, the local stories, and they were telling the stories. And that point of time, I don't know, Anand, I was just, I said, what am I doing here telling stories in English? Whereas India is, I mean, one is full of stories, and secondly, so many languages. It's such a diverse country, and there can be so many storytellers telling stories in different languages, and we don't have a space like that. So that is when I came back and I thought that, okay, I can create a space where people can come and share stories in their mother language. So somewhere who knows to speak his or her mother language gets a space to share stories. So that is how it started. So that time it was not Cheers2Bhasha or anything. I had not given it a name. So I have my company, which is Big Buddy World. That's BBW Education Brand. So I told, okay, this is where I can create a space and I'll call my storyteller friends and they can share stories in the mother language. So I started it as Indian language storytelling mandala.
Okay.
So mandala is circle, that is what we say. And the dream was that, okay, more and more people will join in and the mandala will go bigger and bigger, the circle will grow bigger and bigger. So this is what ILSM is, what project kind of a thing it started.
Right.
And later on, of course, it's went on to become Cheers to Bhasha. It's like that. So it started with stories, and I'm sure it'll continue with stories.
Fantastic.
That's how I
So,
always believe that stories are so powerful. There's just we need to just explore how we can use stories and how we can use stories for different purposes. Yeah.
absolutely. I think stories is a very, very integral part of all our lives. I think at every stage of
Correct.
our life, stories is something that unfolds in various ways. But I think, this is a path that you've actually chosen at this point of time with respect to preserving our own languages. And India
Yeah.
has a plethora of languages in our country,
Correct.
right?
So when I started with so what happened, and so of course, as I mentioned that we had this circle of storytellers coming in and then sharing stories in the local language and all those things. That was 2019 December. So December I had an event. January I had an event, and then COVID started.
Right.
Uh, so when COVID started, first of all, I didn't know what to, because my entire program, so with the reading program which I have, that was completely based on in a physical space. So we had different centers, and um, always told parents that more of physical, less of digital, more of physical, less of digital. So then I was completely broken. I didn't know what to do, how to handle this situation, how to go online, and all those things were playing in my mind. But somewhere it became a boon in disguise for my Indian language storytelling mandala. Why?
Okay.
So I told, okay, let me do one thing. Uh, the same thing I can, the physical space, I'll go to online, and I will just put it up if anyone wants to share stories in the mother language. And every month, five tellers we are going to put across on social media platform. Might be on Facebook, because that time was more active on Facebook.
Right.
Instagram just started. So on Facebook, I'll put it up, and on YouTube, I'll put it up. So this was what the plan was. So every month, five tellers in five different Indian languages. And those will be your local stories, not like a Cinderella story or something like that. So if I'm telling a story in Telugu language, then it has to be a local story, might be about the heritage site, or might be about an Telugu author, or, in
Nice.
that thing. So that is how it started. So and initially, and people were also uh, at that point of time, people also tried to explore and stay connected online, and this was a wonderful way to stay connected also. Until
Absolutely.
that time in the storytelling community, always everywhere it was storytelling in English language, or most probably Hindi, somewhere it was not in other Indian languages.
Other Indian languages, correct.
So then, Anant, you won't believe uh, how many mails and messages I received after around 2 months, I think so, of this, that Lopa, I want to share stories in my mother language. I want to share stories in my mother language. Just think how beautiful that space must have been at that point of time. Because it just
True.
opened the doors for many people uh, to tell, how do you say, to tell stories in the local language, in the mother language. And sometimes when you tell something in your mother language, the feelings are completely different.
Absolutely.
How
Absolutely.
you
I totally
connect
understand.
also with people, it completely changes, especially if you're taking a very local story. The words, the intonations, the sounds, the pronunciation, all those things also go into the story, right? And the connect is much, much better than telling the same story in English. So of course, and it was like, wow, kind of a space. There were daughters who said that I want my mother to tell a story. So somewhere from Gujarat, in the interiors of the villages, there was this. So those stories are there on YouTube. So she has shared a story in a language called, that's a Banjaran language, that I don't remember the name right now. So just think about it. So she was with the Gungat, and she was telling the story in her mother language. It's a different kind of space it created. But while doing this, Anant, so I was feeling great. Okay, now people are connecting and they're doing this. So it was. At that point of time, it was very, I would say, I was feeling I'm doing a great job. Oh, I'm connecting people, I'm getting languages, all those things were happening. And that's where I got connected with Tapati, who is a Vishnupriya Manipuri language speaker. And
Okay.
Vishnupriya Manipuri language is an endangered language. Okay. So that means, as per UNESCO, language is divided into different categories. So it is
Okay.
safe and extinct. And in between safe and extinct, there is like languages which are vulnerable. Then there is your endangered languages, all different status it is there, depending upon the number of number of speakers of that language.
Sure.
Okay, how many speakers exist for a particular language? Based on that data, that it is divided into different categories, which I didn't know at that point of time. I was not aware of anything. I was just doing that. Okay, stories are getting, I mean, people are sharing stories in their mother language, and it's a nice space. People are getting connected, and
And you were able to
it's
build up a community as well around the entire thing.
yeah. So see, I never had an idea that I can build a community. I can do this. It was just that 5 storytellers every month in different Indian languages. This is how it started. Okay. And then, of course, when I spoke with Tapati, that changed. As you say, there are moments where we say that after this and before this, I always say.
Yes.
Okay. So that was kind of a moment where it was after this, there was a different kind of a realization. Because when I spoke with the person whose language is in a status where it might die in some years,
Right.
uh, then it is a different space you're getting in. Because like right now we are speaking, so like that we were speaking, and she became so emotional that someone can cry about their language which will not exist tomorrow, uh, was something very new. Because my mother language is very safe. Odia is very safe. So I've taken it for granted that ye to nahi marega. This is not going to die, right? That changed a lot. At that point of time, I would say, I don't know. I said no. There should be something else done with this. It's not only sharing stories or something like that. So then I started researching on endangered languages and what it is, why, all those things it started. I told, okay, let's start with Vishnupriya Manipuri language. And I told, okay, let me see if I can find people who speak other endangered languages. And you won't believe there were authors who connected and said that, Lopa, I know this speaker over here. Uh, I know this speaker over here. There's only these many people exist. So this is how then it started with endangered languages. And then, of course, with discussions with people talking, and I said, okay, why don't we take it, give it a form, give it a space in the sense of in a what do you say, like a startup or something like that.
Right. Some kind of a form
Uh,
for it.
Form for it. And that's how I was thinking what name to give, because Big Buddy World, no doubt I had this particular, I have this, my registered company. But
Sure.
somewhere, so someone suggested that the name Big Buddy World does not, if someone wants to understand about languages, so Big Buddy World does, when someone looks up Big
Doesn't
Buddy World,
resonate.
it does not resonate with languages. So
True.
can you come up with a different name for it? So I told, okay, fine. Then I was in two minds what to do. I have this company, this also I want to do. And then I said, okay, part of the venture, so let's give it a name. And then I thought of Cheers to Bhasha.
Which is
After
a very powerful name, I feel, because one, it celebrates the local languages, and I think
it is good.
it also gives you a vision in terms of what you wish to take it forward. So, in a
Yeah.
nutshell, if I have to ask you, Lopa,
Mhm.
what is the hook for Cheers to Bhasha? Is there any specific
So
statement?
for me, it was like, so if you look at the logo of Cheers to Bhasha, it has two footprints. So for me, always it started with, even with the ILSM, that is Indian Language Storytelling Mandala, so which I still do. So where it was increasing the footprint of Indian languages. So
Good,
like
very
how
good.
we have, so the idea was how you have carbon footprints, you say that you need to reduce it. So I said, okay, what can we do to increase the footprint of, you know, of our languages?
True.
So there are, so that is where I said, okay, that is what I want to do. I want to increase the footprint of Indian languages, and that can be various ways in which it can be increased, the footprint. So like both, if we start speaking in our mother language, if I tomorrow I say that no, my child needs to know the mother language and should be speaking in mother language as along with English as well, because that's also a global language which my child should know, but not at the cost of the mother language, then of course I have increased the footprint of my mother language because I have
True.
passed into my next generation, right? I've, and if I don't pass it to the next generation, then I am a part of the, the death of the language later.
Right, 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 right.
So tomorrow, if my language dies after 50 years, then I have played a role in that towards the death of that language because I did not encourage my child to speak in mother language or parent language, whatever your home language you have, that is the parent language, because sometimes we have families where the father speaks a different language and the mother speaks a different language.
True.
So of course, either of the languages or one of the languages or a common language which you're thinking that, okay, the child is comfortable with. So something with that I'm just talking about. So there are various ways it can be done. So that's how Cheers to Bhasha started. That not only so there are different things. So as you know that how entrepreneurs are, um, I mean, who are not trained entrepreneurs, and someone like how we start by experimenting this and that, doing this, doing that. So for me, I thought, oh, the entire world is my customer. Everyone is going to be my customer. It became
True.
like that. Okay, I can, children can learn, adults can learn, because people were coming in and calling me up. Okay, my son is getting married to a Telugu girl, so he wants to learn Telugu. So can you do that? So, okay, this is a market. Wow. Parents calling in and saying, okay, can you teach my children, their mother language, this, all these things, spoken Marathi and all those things. Oh, this is also a market. So I was like, okay, ये तो बढ़िया business चलेगा. Because I have
Right.
such a big market. But it's not like that. So yeah, so that's how it started. So the hook, if I say, is of course increasing the Indian language footprint. This is what it, that was the vision, that is what I'm going to do.
Fantastic. Tell me, can you give me a little bit of a brief about how your business cycle actually works in the sense
Yeah, I'll tell
how
you.
how
So
is it
initially,
structured? This entire
yeah,
Cheers to Bhasha, how is it structured in terms of are you preparing some courses which is online? Do you have a tech intervention at this point of time?
yeah.
It
So I'll
enables the
tell you,
entire thing.
Anand. So of course, it started with the documentation thing. But
Sure.
when I spoke with different mentors, because the venture got became a part of IIM Bangalore, your NSR cell,
Hmm.
which where they have this. So that's where I met storyteller Krishna. So there, when I met with different mentors, so that's when I realized that it can't be a huge. We have to concentrate on a particular customer segment, because no doubt. And what I was trying was, of course, providing course for children, for adults, for all those things were happening, and it was going here. It was going nowhere. So and somewhere the entire reason where I started Cheers to Bhasha, where it was for endangered languages and all those things, somewhere it was getting diluted also. So, Anand, what happens is when you have an idea and you're thinking in a particular way, and there are people who are thinking in a different way, that is, where it is in a business point of view, it is ROI, it is more of money and all those things. Then somewhere becomes a little difficult to explain what you really want. What is your idea, what you want, what is that you want to do, and what they want is very different. So when the discussion started, then I started, okay, then how do I generate income from this? Okay, so okay, to generate income, then I need to have somewhere where someone is paying for the entire thing, because if I'm documenting, no one is paying for that, right? What is that then? So then I started, that is where we started, said, okay, like, right, we'll go ahead with creating courses where, because we are seeing that there are people who are interested,
Sure.
and we created courses. So that also took time, because there were long-term courses, then there were short-term courses, then all those things, because all experimentation was going on, whether this will work, that will work. Because the process which I followed was that I didn't validate that initially. That became an issue. I think for entrepreneurs, that is a very important part of your journey, that before investing, validation of the idea is very, very important, which you've understood, later on. That is how, when
Which is
we
what,
joined.
my next, I think I get what you're trying to say,
Yeah. So
which is
that
why
is
the
how
next very logical thing was,
so then
what
we
exactly was the problem that you're going to solve?
so the problem for me, for what I had started with, it was like languages are, if languages, suppose tomorrow a language dies, okay, there's a difference between death of a language and language becoming extinct.
True, true, true.
Now, if
Interesting
a
point.
language dies, it can be revived only if it is documented.
Right.
But if it is not documented, we cannot revive the language. It will become extinct.
Extinct.
And along with the languages, Anant, you won't believe what the stories, when we have documented the stories and what those stories contain, what kind of knowledge. So tomorrow, if I have, I'm saying, if I have 10,000 stories, and if we start segregating the stories into environment-based stories or different kinds of stories, and we segregate those stories, and then if we start working on that, it is a gold mine,
Correct, correct, correct. I got it.
right? Uh, but how do I explain that to where you need that initial investment and return immediately? So, so of course that's how it started. So that was the problem I wanted to solve. But along with that, different kinds of things also came in. That okay, it's not only how can I increase the Indian language footprint. One is documenting. Second is creating awareness. Third is training. So training, creating awareness, and documenting. So creating awareness is what we are doing these workshops in different international schools, basically. So where we have our children who are involved in the project also, or
Okay.
documenting the stories. That is how it works.
So,
Because
how
you
many
won't,
languages at this point of time do you have under your Cheers to Bhasha as a
sorry,
concept?
sorry.
How many languages are you catering to at this point of time?
Right now, around 220 languages,
So, that's
different
the plethora of
languages, which,
languages that we have in India.
oh, we have so, I call everything, I don't call them as, so for me, no doubt 22, there are 22 official languages for us. But for me,
You mean that the balance
everything is a
200 is
language.
basically
I'm
all
not
unofficial
talking about the
languages?
dialects. I'm not naming them as dialects. I'm
Okay.
just them as languages. Everything I'm taking it as a language. That's a common thing which I've taken it. It's not that that's a dialect or something like that. So that's how I'm saying 220 languages we have documented. So there are various stories, and what we're doing is with schools, we have these projects. One is that I'll tell you why that became again important, Anand. Everything has a story, as I tell you. So I had been to one of the very prestigious school in Mumbai. So I live in Mumbai. And so we had this, I had this workshop with them with regards to endangered languages and their importance. So when I went over there, and it's an international school, famous international school over here, so children were disinterested. Children were not interested to know about it much because one is Indian languages, so no interest in that. And secondly, endangered languages, no idea, I think so, about that. So when I went over there, so body language was completely as if they were not interested and you could understand. And the moment I asked the question, what happens when a language dies? So the answer was nothing. I mean, if I can communicate with you and you can communicate with me, that solves everything. It doesn't. So what's going to happen if a language dies? So that was the answer
True.
from children. So that's when I realized that it's blaming children not knowing the language or not knowing about languages is not going to help. Because when they don't know what happens when a language is, and I will say I even didn't know when I started uh, documenting or telling people to come and share stories. Uh, so why will they get interested in that? So that's when we realized that we need to work. So I spoke with the school, and of course, school was, I mean, really, really helpful in going ahead and understanding the entire thing. And they said, oh, this would be wonderful. Yes. So that is where we realize that how important it is for children to understand what happens when a language dies. Then automatically they're going to speak their mother language. You don't have to tell them to speak their mother language also. Force them to speak their mother language or know their mother language. And that is what is happening. And it takes time, but that regular intervention is important. That is what I say. And that is as for the schools or parents, whoever real, there's different stakeholders out there. I mean, they need to realize and see how we can go forward. So
Very
so
nice.
that is
Very nice.
where we are using children, and the moment they start documenting, they start talking with the language speakers whose languages are dying, because that is what changed my perspective towards the language. And I know that tomorrow, if Anant is going to speak to a language speaker whose language is dying, I'm sure Anant will say, "Acha, nahi, main kuch karta hu. What? How can I do? Go ahead and do." It's the same thing for every individual who gets, like we say that, okay, and if in a family also there's a regular discussion about that thing, automatically the child will get interested towards knowing about it and working towards it or whatever. So that is what I tell parents about the reading thing also. It's so important. I can't tell my child to go ahead and my child is not reading. Are we discussing books at home? Are we celebrating birthdays where books are themes? Are we giving return gifts as books? Are we going to different places and watching different plays with our children and discussing? Are we talking about my experiences with what book I'm reading and this character I like, I about the characters and all those things? Are we doing that with our child? What are we discussing with our child? That is what makes them interested towards. And when they start respecting that language, and that is where I told that, okay, we can give a platform where children can come and tell stories and they're celebrated. And if they get celebrated because they are talking in their mother language, that changes the entire perspective towards the languages. So that is what happened with the Young Indian Language Crusader project, which we have. So I told, okay, now I want children to come over and share stories in their mother language. So where we train them in storytelling, the techniques of storytelling. And then for 3 months, it is a project for them where they become, they are team leaders. Okay, they're project leaders. And when they're project leaders, so they can have 3 team members along with them who speak either their own mother language, I mean their mother language, or it can be any other language. So it can be like someone, my friend, my cousin, anyone. So that's a
Got
team
it.
members. So this is how, so every month, again, they share stories in their language. And we have themes for it. So first month is heritage side. Second month is your this one authors of your local language, can be that. The third month is religious festivals. So you have festivals and there are stories based on the festivals. So what happens through this? One is the child uh, is speaking in the mother language. Second, the child connects with the parents and grandparents. Third, the child has to read stories, know about different stories based on that. Fourth, he gets to know about his own culture and history and everything. And fifth, when he's doing that, there are people who are saying, wow, they're selling. So this was what the thought behind YILC when I started. And there are so many stories behind it, what has changed in different children's life. One is there's this child who didn't know his mother language very fluently.
Okay.
It's in Madhya Pradesh. He speaks that language. It's in MP. In B. Okay, I just don't remember the language right now. So he was going for his summer holidays to his grandmother's place
Okay.
in Indore. And he told his parents told that he's going to this 3 months he's going to share stories, because that was COVID time. So they were shifting from Mumbai, they were shifting and they will be staying over there at the grandmother's place. That is what they decided during that time. So the parent told he will share stories in his mother language. You won't believe, Anand, the child was not fluent in his mother language. He didn't know anything about it. He was not interested to go ahead and share stories because he was a little embarrassed. He wanted to tell stories in English language. So he didn't, because we have for English language also. So he wanted it to be in that project. He didn't want to be in this because he didn't want to do it in the local language.
Right.
He went over there and with his grandmother, he started translating the stories, short stories. He started very short stories. First month, second month, third month, and then because the project got 3 months, and then the project ends, and then they can continue with the different project with us. So his YouTube channel for his mother language.
Wow.
And I mean, I get goosebumps by it, Anand, because the moment when he told that, because children call me Big Buddy, the moment when he told Big Buddy, I don't know why I was feeling so embarrassed about my language. It's so beautiful. And he connected with his grandmother in such a big way because of this entire process of telling stories, because they had a common point of discussion with
Oh, yeah,
his
absolutely. Absolutely.
with the grandmother, because otherwise nowadays children are so busy with their mobiles, laptops and everything. What is that you're discussing? And for the grandmother also, it was such a proud moment that the child is asking questions which she is important in their life. I mean, that
Absolutely.
was such a
Absolutely.
huge thing which the parents shared later, that it was such a beautiful when they used to sit together, discuss stories, uh, correct his pronunciation and all those things. So that is what is happening. How do I put that across in money? I don't know. I don't know how to what is the amount of money for that particular thing. I don't. Another story,
Yeah.
another
See,
beautiful,
I think it's a
another
very different. I think it's a very different approach that you're taking at this point of time, from what I can understand. I think it's more from an impact value and more from a preserving of our languages
exactly.
point of
So
view is what you're
I'm looking at
focused
it
towards.
because right now, slowly after going through everything, I'm looking at it more as an impact point of view. So right now,
Absolutely.
I am concentrating more on the archiving part of it. that is documenting and archiving. Of course, we have created our courses. There have been people who have invested in translating, and so so all those things. The entire course is available. That is 5 days short duration courses, where if you are traveling somewhere, uh, and you need to know how to maneuver through the roads and talk with the auto rickshaw fellows or taxi drivers or directions and all those things. So that is a kind of a course we have. Or
Sure.
because initially we had long-term courses, then we said that no, everyone is not interested to learn everything about the language, right? People are interested to know about a certain language so that they can go ahead and use that language and live a
Yeah, it's
life.
more from a management perspective, the day-to-day kind of a management perspective.
Yeah, so in that way I told spoken language, so let it keep it light and let them understand this is how it is. So you know that tomorrow if I have to talk with my house help, then what do I do? So what are the vocabularies and what are the sentences and all? So those kind of things which is working for us. So there are women join, expats who also join in for the courses like the house help or driver, talking the driver, directions, or those kind of things.
Right.
So those kind of short duration courses, so initially we had long-term courses, then we divided, then we thought, okay, this is our market, this is a customer segment. So for them, this is what we are going to provide. So that is the money part of it is what we are doing, and that's completely online. But yeah, as I said, that documenting is what I'm looking at, and that is where I also was discussing with you, Anand, right? How
So one
do
thing,
I
I'm
really
very
get
kind of intrigued to know, Lopa, would be
Mhm.
in terms of your initial years of entrepreneurship. How was it for you?
through different cohorts? For that, I market it aggressively.
Okay.
This is what I want, and I know the customer segment is this, and this is what I need to do, and these many children, this is the target, all those things. So when it Cheers to Bhasha, because the idea it started, as I told you, was very different. I think the money part of it, when it sometimes when that gets forced upon you, because that has to be also there and needs to be done, somewhere your heart is not
In sync with it.
agreeing to that
Yeah.
thing and wants the other thing more. So slowly, that is where I think with Cheers to Bhasha, slowly I'm getting into the zone of only documentation than getting into the, what do you say, the when money is involved into
The business part of it. Yeah, correct.
the business. That my reading program can cater to that particular requirement of and I think that is what I would say initially when it started. The high point was, of course, uh, the feedback which I had that wow, it is very different and it's very unique, which needs to be done and it's very important and all those things. So you as a founder also, so you realize that you also get very carried away with the thing that oh, it's a great idea, and you get very invested in the idea itself. And then you, as you say, no, so in IM they said don't get married to your idea. It becomes very difficult to get away or divorce it,
Yeah.
because at one point of time, if it doesn't work, if it's not giving you return, then you need to leave it. You can't go on with it which is not giving you any return. So that was what was told to us. So so, but I got married to the idea, still married to the idea, because somewhere I'm not looking at, what do you say, with this particular, with Cheers to Bhasha. So as I said, it is cheers is to wish good health and for celebration of the language. So, so, so so right now it's documenting and how I can monetize with that. One is which we have the international schools where we are tying up. That is another way of, we are generating income from that through our trainings and which is some amount we are generating. But uh, I don't know tomorrow if I'm collecting all these things and this becomes data, and data is, as you said, the next gold or diamond or platinum. What do you say? Uh, that can be monetized
Tell me
later on.
something, Lopa. I'd be very keen to know. Is there any specific failure that you are actually thankful for, which made you learn something?
I'll tell you, yes. So when I created the courses, online courses, I'll be very transparent with you. I mean, and marketed. So there were only initially 10 students, uh, 20 students, okay, 30 students, like that. And then the number fell down because there is like someone wants to do it. So I said, "Acha, I can just Google it out, the answers, and I can, uh, kahan jana hai. If I put it in Telugu language, and it can be said, okay, where do you want that kind of a thing? I can get
Right.
that. So I don't need to invest so much time in learning the language. One is that. And second, if I don't speak the language, then basically I might forget. So all those things were there. So it was going on, trying to convince. Then we thought, okay, corporate, we can do this, we can do that. So all those things were going on. So it was not working out. So since it didn't work out properly, for me, I said, no, there is somewhere in the universe, someone is telling me that Lopas, do what you really planned to do, what
Plan
you
for it.
wanted to
Correct.
do. Concentrate more on the archiving part and documenting part
Documenting part.
than this. If that would have worked wonderfully, Anand, I don't know, this would have taken a
Backseat.
backseat. Where I feel right now that for me, at this point of time, with Indian languages, the way the languages are dying, because every 14 days, one language is dying. Documenting is
Is
more
that
important.
statistically proven?
Yeah, so that is not about Indian languages. It's in
Okay.
whole world. Every 14 days, one language is dying. That is what. So if every 14 days, one language is dying in the world, then Lopa, I think it's better you document the language and training languages. You have the course. How you take it forward later on, that can be done. That is a different thing. One is documenting. Second is creating awareness with schools through this documentation process. Because then the next generation is aware of, and you don't, if they speak, languages will not die if you speak. The only solution to your language to stay alive is you to speak your language. And if the next generation speaks their own mother language, the language will not die. So one is if they become aware about the importance and they start respecting the language, they understand the value of the language, they will speak the language. They'll not feel embarrassed to speak the language. Because there was this parent who speaks Bhojpuri language. He said, no, I don't want my child to speak Bhojpuri because the along with the language, there is some association. I mean, whatever it is, right? So they don't feel comfortable speaking that language.
Right.
But when it got, I'll tell you again the same thing. When the children got started telling stories, they were what do you say? So in the family, they were like, wow, such lovely stories in the language, and suddenly everything changed. Suddenly everything changed. So for parents also somewhere that validation becomes very important through the children. Okay, so this gave kind of a validation that your language is equally respected. It doesn't matter what kind of narratives are being set by the media or through movies or through the political space. What you feel about it, such a personal relationship with your language, such a personal relationship. It's only you can develop that relationship with your language. in the way you want.
Tell me something, Lupa. I get your point. I think this is a very emotional space that we are getting into at this point of time, because language is an emotion, right? For every individual. So what I wanted to understand was, how have you seen the acceptance of languages evolve over a period of time? Say about 10 years back to what it was, and now as we stand today. Do you think Cheers to Bhasha has had
Yeah, see,
some kind of an
one is,
impact or some kind
yeah,
of a role
yeah,
to
of
play in that
course, of
entire
course.
scheme of things?
I'll tell you, in the storytelling community, now if you ask anyone, so we have this entire huge community of storytellers. So in Mumbai, in Bangalore, in Hyderabad, so everywhere we have a community of storytellers, right? So I think the storytelling which I started with Indian languages, that changed the entire gamut of storytelling. You ask any storyteller, they will tell you that yes, because of ILSM or the LOPA, the we started storytelling in local language. So we have Telugu storytellers, storytelling community where we have in Vijay, okay.
True.
Then in Hyderabad as well, the Hyderabad storytelling community. Then you have your Bangalore storyteller society, where where if you say that it started with Tamil storytelling or Telugu storytelling, or even the Sindhi storytelling. There is the Sindhi otak which they've started in Lucknow. So there is the storyteller. So her child was part of YALS, Young Indian Language Crusader, and that is where they started the entire space of storytelling in Sindhi language. So that changed the entire perspective of storytelling, in the sense like creating spaces for local language storytelling. So that was a huge change which happened, because earlier all the storytellings were in English, and second, stories, either the Indian stories in English language or the Western stories in English language. So in
So
that
are
way.
you telling me that there is a lot of acceptance today for Indian languages?
Of course, yes, there is, because one is the where you're talking about Indian languages, and when amongst whom you're talking, amongst children, adults, or acceptance in the sense in which space are you talking about?
No, I'm talking in terms of speaking the local language. Has
Speaking
that improved?
speaking the local language, see, like spaces like Mumbai and all, that uh, if you walk around in the society, all every child is speaking in English. They speak in English. I am not against speaking in English, but what we are talking about with parents right now, what has happened is uh, there are more inquiries for parents who are saying that I want my child to know Marathi
Correct.
Kashmiri, Kashmiri as a language, or a lot of inquiries for one is Kashmiri, Marathi, and Telugu.
Telugu, right.
Telugu. So there are a lot of inquiries with regards to these languages for children. I'm just saying this was not there five
Earlier.
years earlier, which was not there, but they want, and not only languages, they also want. Parents also want little bit about culture, knowing about uh, the the traditional practices which they follow. So it's about that as well. So might be one is the reason that there are parents like might be one wife speaking Telugu and the husband speaking Punjabi. So might be child is not aware about all the details. So they want somewhere some a space where the child can get aware about these things in the right
So
way.
these stories which people are telling, on your medium, these stories are what? These are moral stories. These are stories with regard to culture, regard to the heritage. So what exactly is the kind of storytelling
Initially,
which
of
happens?
course, yeah, initially, of course, I started with only local, say, your local language stories. So that was what I had informed.
No, but local
Uh,
language stories will also have some kind of a context, right?
yeah, yeah. So
Like
it can be
what
folk
kind of
stories. Folk tales, folk tales. Usually folk tales is what they
Folk tales.
started.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I wanted
Okay.
to know. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But later on, then I started telling them that which we have started documenting. So it is there any folk tales based on environment? Okay. Or is there any folk tales based on the festivals? So specific, so there are tales like that. And then people start reading up, start asking their relatives, friends, reading up, all these things happen. Then we made it a point that, okay, are there folk tales like that, or are there fables, where you have from fables itself you can take a small story and go ahead and tell, or are there stories where while you're feeding your child, are there some stories which are like that, or there can be rhymes, songs which are there. So for every activity, there are songs.
Oh, nice.
So while
Okay.
you are feeding your child, there are songs. So in different languages, okay. While you are making your child go to sleep, there are songs. Uh, so these are while you are. So there are a lot of things which can be documented. And I was just having a talk with. I mean, I was listening to Pratik Patnaik. If you know him, I don't know. He also archives a lot of Odissi music.
Okay. Okay.
The music of Odissi, and how there is a science behind that. Okay, it's so beautiful. He's so learned. And when he was talking, he said in Puri temple, if you know about the Puri temple, so there are so many ways of tying the garland. You know, uh, when you don't need the needle to
Got it. Got it.
make a
Got it. Yeah.
garland, only with the threads with different knots. So there are different kinds of knots. So he's saying that how, if someone wants to research and someone wants to archive, even that is something which someone can sit and do. So, so I'm just saying that documenting is such an important part, or archiving is so important, not only to document it just for the sake of documentation, but when you start researching on those content,
True.
you don't know what information you can get. I'll tell you one small thing. There was this story where in a village, this is a story based on environment. Okay, in a local story. Remember which language that was from. So there was this old man who was planting something, and the child comes and tells, "Dadaji, aap kya kar rahe ho?" So says, "Oh, just see what I'm doing." Says, "Okay." And the child has curious eyes and was like waiting, what is that my grandfather is doing? So he was taking this small brown chanas, okay, and he was taking one and he was putting it under the soil, and he told, "You go and get that leaf for me." And there was this long leaf with, so he got that leaf and he planted it so the seed, then he put the mud on it, and then the leaf. Okay. So the child was excited and he got and he did all those things. And then he's saying, "Why are you doing this?" I said, "Sweet, you'll see what's going to happen." And after some days, because there's not much of water around, so after some days, they started to sprout. So what was happening? The leaf was actually collecting the dewdrops,
Okay.
and
Nice.
it was getting through it. The seed was getting the water into it. So that was kind of an irrigation which was happening, traditional practice. So just think, I'm not an expert, but might be there is an irrigation specialist who, when he listens to this story, looks at this system, they might come up into some kind of an idea. So this is just a small story which was there. There might be like that so many different stories which might lead to some kind of innovation. So that is what our TKS is, traditional knowledge systems.
Tell me something, Lopa. What would your advice be to some startup entrepreneurs? Because I clearly see where you are coming from. I think your focus is more towards the purpose than profit, right? So, what would your a couple of 2 cents would be for the entrepreneurial community basis your experience?
Um, I would say, first of all, need to be aware of what exactly. So, if your ideas, we get many. Every day we come across problems and we get different ideas to solve that problems, right? Uh, but as I was told, that it's very important. It's not about the idea which is which is for me. It's more about who wants it.
Correct.
Yeah. Does someone uh, want that kind of a solution which you are providing? So that is where your validation of an idea is very, very important,
Right.
especially if you're looking at for profit kind of a thing, where that if that is what the first thing is, validation of an idea. Second, I would say, once that is initially the investment, I would say understand how it is working and then go towards the investment. Test your idea and see how what it is doing, and then I couldn't think about investing your money or time into it. I would say that. But the other side, if you're looking at an impact kind of a thing, and if you think that really that is going to make an impact and going
Make an
to
impact.
change, and you believe in it, then speak for it loudly. And of course, that's the reason I also agreed when you mentioned that, can you look go ahead and come over and talk. I said, of course, any space is important because that amplifies the voice.
No,
And
absolutely, absolutely. That's the
any
idea.
space
Yeah.
is important, because somewhere where I'm talking about why it is important to speak in your mother language, uh, uh, as well as other languages. I'm not saying that you only need to know other language, and why it is important to document your stories or your culture, your heritage, all these things, why it is important. Of course, when space like this, when I'm speaking, it's at least it is reaching to 5 more new people whom I don't know. So, and somewhere someone might get inspired, and one person gets inspired and starts going ahead and saying that, no, no, from tomorrow my children will also know about their mother language or know about the language we speak. I
No,
think
absolutely,
that
100%. I
that
think that's also the fundamental idea premise on which entrepreneurs echo as a concept has been conceptualized.
so I
So,
would say in a nutshell, I mean, basically, any idea, validate your idea. That is very, very important. Know your customer segment, and then go for it. That is the process. Test your idea, then go ahead and invest in your money and time on your idea, and work towards it. And someone mad like me with regards to somewhere creating kind of an impact you want to do. And I'm sure it's not today, but after some years, somewhere Cheers to Bhasha will be making a big change for sure.
I'm
I
very, very sure
believe
about
in it
that.
completely. My dream is to, yeah, make, as I told, that any space is any space where we can talk about it will create an impact to a larger audience. So that's the reason I want to make a short film, um, based on why documentation is important. And so there is an idea, there is a small story which is there. And I don't know, Anand, you won't believe uh, how when you speak to the universe and it starts working towards it, wherever I go, like I go to, I'm in the airport, or I'm going for any, I'm traveling somewhere, or I'm sitting somewhere, someone or the other in the space of filmmaking gets connected. I'm telling you. So somewhere there might be a script writer who's there. There might be editor. So somewhere or the other, I get to meet people in that manner, and that manifestation of making a short film, uh, it becomes stronger and stronger
Fantastic. So, is
towards
that
it.
is that something which is also your dream box, if I can tell you, Lopamudra?
Yes, I want to make a short film. I want to take it to Cannes, and so because people should know about this beautiful India and its lovely languages and what people feel when a language, when they're pushed to the wall and knowing that tomorrow they can be the only speaker left in the world who knows the language. Then how does that feel?
So via this medium, is there any other message that you would like to give to the audiences, Lopa?
Through the movie you're talking about, which
No,
I'm
I'm
planning
talking
to
about
create?
our medium of entrepreneurs. Like, is there any other message that you would
Okay,
like
through
to?
this, yeah, sure. Uh, First thing is, yeah, since it's an entrepreneur's echo, as I said, don't don't, don't get married to your idea. So very important to validate your idea and go ahead and test your idea and know your customer segment well. That is important. There's another very, very beautiful thing which one of the mentors had shared with me, and I would love to share that over here. It was something called as the social investment. So social investment is something where you can do it in different ways. One is always talk about your work wherever you are. You don't know who might be needing your service. So whether you are in the airport, and I have connected with people doing that. Okay, so whether in the airport, whether you are traveling somewhere, you're in a party or anywhere, always talk about you. So this is what, in some way or the other, pitch in over there. So about your work, this is what I do, this is what I do, and you know how to do that. So that is one kind of social investment. Secondly, a mentor had told me, which I do that, told that make a list of people you know. So might be that there are people whom you have, your school friends, whom you have not spoken to. Okay, but and nowadays it's so easy to get connected with your schoolmates or your, because of the
Yeah, yeah,
WhatsApp
very
groups.
cool.
Yeah. So there might be, you might have stayed in a place where you have left that place and you've come back and you've not stayed connected. Go back and start calling, make a list. Every day, try to call 5 people, from them, and just say hi and talk with them and start reconnecting, because somewhere you don't know how, who, when, where will be needing your service which you are providing. So that was something which was just very beautiful. And I would say that social investment, along with your financial investments, also equally important. So yeah, and if
This
you
is
have an
absolutely
idea,
wonderful, Lopa, because I think you've given a lot of perspectives on how an entrepreneur should actually approach when he or she is having an idea. That's number one. Number two is even with respect to the kind of articulation you've done for Cheers to Bhasha and what's your larger vision and what's your dream box. I'm really inspired today in terms of preserving my own language, which is Tamil. And and honestly, I would like more and more people to watch this video, and I will try and do the maximum possible extent to what I can from my end to ensure that this gets amplified to the entire globe, so to say.
thank you, Anand. And what lovely stories you have in Tamil. What powerful stories. Oh my goodness. Anand, if you listen, I have so many Tamil storytellers who have stories in Tamil language. You
Fantastic,
should be
fantastic. So
holding a family get together where your family should be having a storytelling evening where all your family members sharing stories in them in Tamil.
this is so fantastic. This is absolutely fabulous. It was indeed a pleasure talking to you, Lopa. I really hope all the
Same
very
here.
best to you. I truly believe that what you're manifesting would surely come your way.
It
And
will. Thank you.
I wish you sincerely the best at the soul level.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being a
Thanks
part
a
of my
lot.
podcast.